Well done, Miss Massey. That was incredible. So you should be quite proud of yourself. We're going to be going to questions. You may realize that I just have a loud voice. I'm not being projected right now. We're going to be getting another mic later on. But for now, you do need to speak into this mic because it's going to our video screen. And what I didn't mention before is that the lovely Andrew Stone is here filming everything so that tonight or maybe tomorrow night, we will have this up on our Island Pacific School YouTube channel, and you can watch it again. So we're going to go to questions right now. Please, when we go to you in the audience, can you stand up and speak quite loudly, okay? And we address Ms. Massey as Ms. Massey. So, to the advisory committee.
Excellent presentation, just so you know. I have more to say after that. Quick question. What kind of studies, what do you need to do in order to become a forensic analyst? What kind of background, if you were interested? I'm just curious as to what route you have to take for that.
I think you have to take sciences, definitely. I didn't really study that part of it, but yeah, for which job exactly?
If you come across a body and you're going to have to determine all
well, there's tons of people that work on the crime scene. It's in my paper, if any of you are interested, but but I have all the people, well, a lot of the people that work on it, so they all do a separate but equally important job. So there could be a medical examiner, a coroner, they all do different things. So it really depends what you want to do specifically to look at that body. Because like a coroner will look at how they died, like, and the eye hit, I think that is the forensic identification specialist will look at evidence and stuff like that. So it really depends what you want to look at.
Fantastic presentation, Lola. I have some questions from your external advisors who unfortunately were not able to be here today. I'll start with a question from Neil Boyd. And there's kind of a few questions in this one.
Yeah.
Okay. How important is the use of forensic investigation in homicide cases? Are these techniques useful in almost all cases in order to establish criminal responsibility, or is it just the minority of cases? The minority of cases of homicides that require forensic techniques in order to attribute responsibility. So how important basically is the use of forensic investigation?
Forensics is used in almost all homicide cases. The real reason behind that is probably the Lockhart principle, which I talked about a little bit, but not really. So the Lockhart principle is the principle that wherever you are, you will leave something behind or take something with you. So at every scene, there will be DNA of who was there. If you went there, you're going to be there. So I think that is forensics, and you need to use forensics to find that. So I think forensics is used in almost every case.
Wonderful. And I have two questions here from Jody Ann Warren. The first one, why is estimating time since death using entomology an estimate?
I touched on this in my paper, but it's an estimate because it lacks precision, I guess. And so entomologists will know when the bug started colonizing the body, but they don't know if there was a delay when they came to the body or not. So you always have to say this person's been dead for this amount of time or more, because you can't know a precise time.
And second question, in what ways is documenting, so for example, photos and notes, necessary for trial?
Well, I know for like forensic photography, which I do talk about in my paper, is it's for if the jury wants to see, it's kind of like a reconstruction of the crime scene. So forensic photographers will use a different camera. They'll use a camera, like when you take a picture of like yourself or something, you want to like highlight the best qualities, I guess. But for a forensic photographer, you have to use a set camera and you have to take a picture of the crime scene as it is. Like you can't make it lighter. If it's dark, it's dark. Like you have to take it exactly how it is, because if you want to, you have to reconstruct the scene for the jury or the judge if they want to reconstruct the scene and see evidence through pictures and stuff like that, because they can't go back to the scene.
A question for me. You showed a video of the moonwalking bear.
Yeah.
What do you see the importance of something like this in solving or not solving a homicide case?
Of the lay witness?
Yeah, of the lay witness or of what that video showed for all of us.
Well, I think that the lay witness shows that, well, I know the first time I saw that, I did not see it at all. I was focused on something else. So, and most people, when they see a murder or see evidence, are not going to be focused on the murder. Like, they're not thinking that's going to happen that day or something, you know? And so, yeah, I think that I had another example of something. Oh, yeah. So I was looking at David Milgaard and that kind of case about the man who was falsely imprisoned for 23 years. The reason why he was falsely imprisoned was because of witness testimony from his friends, but that was because of like an award. Like a ransom kind of like money if you had any like evidence, and you would get money for giving it to him. So they made it up. So that's kind of, I think it's very like controversial because, I mean, evidence, like witness testimony, the person has seen it, but you don't know if like how their memory works or if the memory was correct. So
the forensic evidence then, like you were saying, is absolutely the most important.
Yeah, the forensic evidence is the most important.
Wonderful. Last question.
Yeah.
So what, in your opinion, is the most surprising thing that you've learned about forensic investigation in particular, maybe the most surprising, intriguing?
I think for me was the use of insects, because insects, I didn't talk about it in this presentation, but insects are used to determine time of death, but they're also used to determine if the body was moved after death, if it was disturbed after death, because if it was disturbed after death, most people will have an alibi for when the murder was committed, but if the person went back to the scene to get rid of evidence, they won't have an alibi for that. And if there's bugs on the body, you can tell if the person went back, so they can, if they don't have an alibi for that, it can pinpoint that they're guilty.
Wonderful, thank you, good answers.
Great job, Miss Massey. It reminds me of a Masterworks that I talked to you about 15 years ago. A young lady did her Masterworks completely on forensic entomology and the study of bugs, and she hung chickens in trees and chickens buried and chickens underwater, and then tested and journaled all of the insects that came through time. So she was her own forensic entomologist. You've been spared photos of that today. Thank you very much, Lola. We're going to go to questions from the floor. Raise your hand, stand up, and speak loud.
What's the catch? Like, you've been talking about how forensic evidence can be used to identify and how it's used to be good within 48 hours. But if you find evidence within 48 hours, isn't there a chance that like the DNA belonged to someone else or it belonged to a family member?
Yeah, of course, but that's why that's the forensic evidence, but that's where an investigation comes in, and where not the forensic investigators possibly, but more like the detectives and like the investigators on the scene will look at that stuff. The forensic investigators are mostly just trying to get like the DNA and the evidence that's on the scene, and then they'll give it to another investigator.
I wanted to say, I have a question, but I want to say first that the forensic entomology idea of that is so cool. I love hearing about careers that are so specific I've never heard of before, so I feel like I missed my mark in life. You said there's the cause of death,
The mechanism
of death, and the manner of
yeah.
death. I didn't catch what the manner of death, what the difference of that is. So can you go over those three things?
Sure. The cause of death is, so if a person was, I'll just say the example again, if a person had pre-existing health problems and then they were involved in a shooting that damaged their internal organs, then they were discharged from the hospital and got pneumonia, the cause of death would be the gun because it set everything else in motion. The mechanism of death would be the sickness, the pneumonia, because that's what ended his life. And the manner of death, there's 5. There's undetermined, natural, homicidal, suicidal. Yeah, and that's how the person was killed, like in which way. Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem.
What was your favorite thing about this project?
I mean, I liked all of it. It was really interesting to learn because I've been interested in this for a long time, but it was mostly books and just reading about stories. But it was really interesting for me to go deeper and understand how it's actually done. And yeah, I think that was the most interesting part for me.
Well done, Miss Massey.
Thank you.
I was just wondering, if you were to go into a profession in this, what would you specialize in?
I've always been interested in forensic anthropology, which is the study of bones, but I don't know, all of it's so interesting to me. I think I would have to go even more deeper into the professions because I'm interested in like anthropology, but I'm also interested in investigation. I'm interested in evidence. I don't know, it's hard to say at this point.
Thank you, Miss Massey. Just curious, we all see on television those exciting shows, the CSI shows,
Yeah.
and I'm curious, through your own personal research, do you think that those shows are representative of actual, real forensic examinations, analysis, et cetera? What's your opinion on that?
I think they are like somewhat, but I think I was talking about this. I wasn't talking about this, but I was talking about it with Victoria. I think that it's sped up to get into an episode, so that the DNA analysis and stuff like that won't come back that same day, or something. I think I learned about that. It takes longer. So, but for the most part, the things that are involved in that TV show are pretty good, I guess. But there's still some things that are wrong.
Congratulations, Ms. Massey. That was
Thank
really
you.
fascinating. My question is, of all of the evidence that you looked at, what do you think provides the most accurate evidence, I guess? Because I think Lucas's point was, what if you get all this information, but you still can't actually determine because nobody,
Yeah.
find the truth?
Yeah. So
Which
I
one,
think
what do you think is the most
DNA.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, because everyone's DNA is different. So, and but the thing that's a problem with DNA is, if you find DNA on the scene, you have to match it to someone. But if you don't know who if you don't have a suspect and you don't match it to someone, you don't know. So, but I think that if you have a suspect and if you have DNA, that's the most linking.
So is there a DNA suspects? How do they match it?
Well, yeah, you have to have suspects in order to connect DNA. So you connect the DNA found on the scene to the victim, and then with your suspects, you get DNA from all of them, and if you have matches on the scene.
What would happen if the body was drowned or they threw away the evidence, like they put it in the dumpster, or they scattered the body around?
Yeah, I actually watched a Bones episode of that. So, you can still have identification with the face. So with teeth, fingerprints, stuff like that, you can still have identification with that. It's harder if there's no head or stuff like that, but if the bones are scattered, you can still, if you have at least if you have the main bones, I think you can still do identification with that. And I think, yeah. And if they're scattered, you do reconstruction of bones. If you're a forensic anthropologist, I think if it's completely crushed, you can repiece it together. Like that. Yeah.
Ms. Massey, I don't have a question for you.
Okay.
I just wanted to say that I'm totally impressed by the confidence and the clarity which you make this complicated topic clear to me, an art teacher. It's fabulous. Very well done.
Thank you.
And with that, we are going to close question period. You survived, Miss Massey, and answered questions with aplomb. So, well done. We are going to take a short break in a minute and be back here at the top of the hour at 10 o'clock, but a big round of applause for Miss Massey.